Hello guys, I had to do this on a Saturday, post a sugar scrub recipe because I saw how you guys were questioning like, yo, we need the recipe right now. So I'm going to give you guys this recipe today. Yes, I'll sacrifice my little time on a Saturday. So these are the jars that I'll be using. I'll leave these jars in the Patreon. I use these jars now for my body butter because you can really just do some really cool things with these jars. So I like them. These are 8 ounce. So here's the texture, guys. And this is a very beautiful texture. You will not be able to find this texture on everybody's channel. Just know that, okay? This is the, I will compare this to like the Bellamore scrub. Yes, this is a very thick texture. Okay, so this texture will be available on my Patreon, the whole entire recipe. If you have not joined the Patreon for $5 a month, come on, what are you thinking about? Go in the description box and join. You get candle making recipes, skincare recipes. We do live classes. We just had a live cookie class. I help you guys start your business. I give you templates. I mean, listen, what are you waiting for? You better stop playing. You better go on up in that Patreon and get yourself together. Because let me tell you something, ain't no recipes in there that's going to cause you to fail. They are fail-proof recipes, the soap recipes, everything. You can start your business because I started mine. Honey, let me tell you something. We got billion-dollar businesses up in this Patreon. All right. Okay, so I'm going to just give you everything you need. So you're going to need this Deco glue side. I just showed you vegetable glycerin. That's PEG 100. That is Bubble Up. You guys know what it is. Cocoa butane. Yes, you're going to need all of that for this recipe. Now, this recipe is not foaming. Okay, it's not foaming. You're going to need a sodium lactate. That's what I just had just there. I had to think about what it was, and also a preservative, okay? So my preservative can range from Germall Plus, Phenolexol, and also Phenonip. Those are my preservatives that I normally use, okay? All right, so the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go and get yourself a scale, and we're going to get started. And also I had some fragrance. Listen, guys, I got so much fragrance. I should open up a fragrance store. Like, it's terrible. But for this particular recipe, I was using like a farm stand apple type of fragrance, and I like it. It was really, really good. It's really good. It smelled good. All right, so let's go ahead and get right into it. Tear that scale out to 0, and we are going to take some Deco glue side, and we're going to have 3 phases. This is going to be like our water phase. Anything that can just go together with water, that's what we're going to put in this phase. So we got the Deco glue side, we got the sodium lactate, and also we are going to use vegetable glycerin and distilled water in this phase. Okay, so you're going to put all that in together. So this is a very simple, easy recipe to make. I'm going to leave the actual recipe in the description box as well. If you don't want to join the Patreon, you can buy the recipe directly from my website. And let me tell you something, this will be a recipe that will be used for a long time, okay? Because this texture is so beautiful, it will never go out of style. All right, so let's go ahead and mix everything together for the water phase. All right, and also I forgot to say, you got to put that cocoa butane into the water phase too before I left that out, because that is like water. Okay, all that stuff can mix together without a problem. So the thing that you will see with this recipe, you will not have any separation whatsoever. It will stay together, and it will actually stay the same texture. Like, you know, usually the next day the texture change. No, this texture it really stays the same. Okay, it's kind of stretchy and it's beautiful. All right, so let's keep mixing our water phase. All right, and now for the oil phase. So what you're going to need is some coconut oil. Your typical organic coconut oil will do, okay? And the next thing you're going to need is your emulsifying wax, which is also called your PEG 100. I didn't put the actual name and the vendor into the chat well, not the chat, but into the Patreon, because I ended up going with a U.S. vendor because they do sell it in Canada, but I ended up finding a U.S. vendor, and I got it in the United States, and it came to me pretty quick. I mean, they actually shipped the same day, so I got it in like 2 days. All right, so you don't even have to wait long for the ingredient, and it's not high at all. So I'm putting my emulsifying wax in here, and then after that you can use stearic acid or you can use cetyl alcohol, okay? Cetyl alcohol, cetyl alcohol, whatever y'all want to call it. Y'all know the name of it. You can use either one. This adds a fantastic slip to the recipe, and also the PEG 100 kind of gives it that stretch. All right, so that will be it as far as the recipe is concerned, there's not too many other things that we put into it. That's it, the preservative, the fragrance. That's why I said this is a very simple recipe to give you a very nice sugar scrub. So we're just putting everything into here, into our beaker. And what we're going to do with this beaker is we're going to melt all of this down in the microwave or the double boiler, however you want to do it. Just take it and melt it down. And then we're going to mix it together with our water phase and go from there. So look, this is what I'm trying to tell you. Don't mix it the way it is right now. We got to turn it into liquid first. All right. I had to tell you that real quick. So you go ahead and melt it down. So this is our sugar that we'll be using. We're just using some typical sugar that you buy to make some Kool-Aid with. Okay. That's all you need is just regular grain sugar. Don't go and get no extra stuff. So now we're going to mix the oil phase with the water phase because I melted it down. And then you're going to stir it together. And when you stir it together, you're going to notice it get a little bit thick and cloudy, guys. And that is the way it's supposed to be, because this is what we're actually going to be pouring our sugar into. All right, so now when it comes down to sugar, I'll leave what I put into the Patreon, guys, but I put about maybe 16 ounces in the beginning, but then I put a little bit more, so you can just kind of adjust how much sugar you actually want. You could use a little bit of sugar to make it more runny if you want to make it runny, or you could use a lot to make it thick and where you can just kind of pick it up like the way I did with this stretchy. Yeah, so I used maybe about 18 ounces or a little more for that particular texture. All right. So now what you're going to do is you're going to go and get your sugar and we're going to start adding that. All right, so I added a little bit of color dye to it, and you can add your mica powder now. I like to add it to the liquid portion, and then I just started adding sugar. I don't know, I just don't put it all in at one time. I just, because it gets so thick when you do it that way, so I just kind of stir it in, and I just keep putting the sugar in there until I reach my desired consistency, guys. So I said about maybe, like I said, 18 ounces is when I started seeing my desired consistency, but of course you can add a little bit more if you want to, or a little less. All right. All right, so right there is when I add my fragrance and my preservative, and then I'm just going to start stirring. So right now it just kind of looked like a slushy, like a blue slushy, and some people might like it to be that consistency, like that slushy consistency, but that's not what I'm going for. The more sugar you add, the thicker you will see it become, and it's very pretty. You don't have to worry about it hardening up on you overnight. It stays pretty. It doesn't separate or anything like that. Yes, it stays consistent. It definitely stays consistent. All right, so you just pretty much stirring this all up. It's best to use a spatula. I'm using like a lab spoon, and that make it a little bit harder because you can't scrape the sides too much. So use a spatula and just kind of mix it all in. All right, so this is what it looked like, the consistency. I like it. It's pretty cool. And I'm going to show you what my pink one looked like in the end as well, but that is it.